Hi and welcome to another episode of Market Track. I'm Abuzar. We are into April now and we'll be taking a look at the real estate activity within the Ottawa region and surrounding for the month of March. Lots happening. It is pretty much tightening regulation and attempting to cool off the housing market on provincial level and federal level. So we'll take a look at both. How will this impact you guys? You need to know this, so stay tuned towards the end of the episode. And as always, please do remember to like this video and to subscribe to my YouTube channel. So let's get going. So now we are seeing the Ontario government suddenly propose a new taxation. It's the non-resident speculation tax, which is 20%, and it's focused on blocking or stopping non-residents, which means that if you do not have a PR status, this will impact you. When? It's starting March 30th and onward. Any contract signed prior to that date, even if you do not have a PR status, you're good to go. So I've double checked and triple checked with accountants, lawyers, and the specialists, so you're good to go. But anything signed, any agreement of purchase signed past that date, you're pretty much on the hook for that 20%. Why was it done suddenly? Maybe it's the elections. Federal government, they've come up with a new regulation on their budget, focused on the housing, again attempting to cool off, which says we are pretty much blocking or stopping foreign buyers from purchasing within Canada for a period of 2 years. How did they come up with that 2 years? I'm not too sure. Why not 1 year? Why not 5 years? For 2 years. Now, again, the specifications have not been released, but I'm hoping that it'll be somewhat logical as far as it goes. Perhaps those who are really intending to live inside Canada, having a permanent residence inside Canada, that they would be exempt as a primary residence. Whether that's the case or not, we shall see. But again, that's a new thing. This is federal. This is Canada-wide. There's no getting around that 2-year period regulation. As far as the Ontario tax goes, that 20%, that's specifically for Ontario. I think it's a step forward for governments to do this, but I feel like it's too sudden. So it should have been more structured, a lot of time given to everyone to be able to cope with this or digest this, because I speak with a lot of professionals and they're caught off guard. They don't even know what to do, what to say. So I really had to dig in to get this information for you guys. Again, another thing that I discovered was if you're a married couple, one individual is a citizen, the other is not, does not have a PR status, you're still good to go. So that you're exempt for your purchase, as long as that's a primary residence. So that's really important. Now, I'll give you a recap of what my thoughts are towards the end of the video. So we'll get going with the numbers here. We'll first take a look at the Ottawa and surrounding as a whole, and then we'll get more specific towards the central. So what these numbers will show you is a general idea, and then more specific as we go towards the end of the video. And taking a look at the two categories, number of sales and average sales for the residential non-condominium sector. For year 2021, we had 1,697 sold units versus 2022, 1,493. That's a drop of 12%, so lack of inventory. Looking at the average sale price for 2021, 759,000 approximately, versus 2022, 853,000, and that's an increase of 12.5%. Looking at the condominium market, similar, 2021, 577 sold units, 518 sold units. That is a drop of 10% year over year, March to March. Average sale price, looking at 2021, 437,000 versus 2022, 479,000, and that is an increase of almost 10%. So again, the condo market's very heated. I feel like the jump is even seen more, as we'll take a look, in the condo than the residential. So I'll let you guys take a look at the rest. We'll keep going. And now taking a look at the residential freehold sector, look at that. 1,085 units sold. So taking a look at the sold versus active listings, and active listings for the month of March we had 600, and taking a look at the year before, pretty much same trend is happening. Last March 1,231 sold units versus 496 active listings, and we'll get more specific as we go along, and this is basically where it's troubling, because the way the prices are jumping, it's mind-blowing. Look at this residential list price versus sold price ratio. Now look at the difference between February and March. Now there's a drop in percentage, 113% to asking, so that's incredible. A little bit of a drop from previous month of 114%, and that's because the average sale is increasing year over year. It's looking at last March, 116%. So again, we're looking at the similar trend, and looking at specifically at this, I don't even know what to say to this. It's ridiculous, funny, and amazing at the same time. Average sale price in Ottawa now for the freeholds, $912,000. Incredible, new heights. Year before we had a peak at March, 821,000, but this is a new height for us, Ottawa. So stay tuned, and who knows what's gonna happen. And we're surpassed the previous month, and we had a gradual drop as we went along summertime last year. Whether we'll see the same thing, who knows, especially with these regulations happening, that's to be seen. But remember, homes in specific areas and certain finishings, so if they're well done, if they're very well maintained in certain areas that are in high demand, not much will change here. That's to note. Whether the government will push these regulations on or not, these are this should be noted. So we'll go along taking a look at the residential days on the market. So nothing's changed, 8 days compared to previous year. Same thing, March over March. We had a bit of an increase in number of days, but again, nothing significant. Home staying on the market for 2 weeks, it's not alarming at all. So we'll take a look at the condominium sector, and lots happening here. Again, a rush, I feel, towards the condo sector because of the pressures felt on the residential freeholds. Now look at this. For a month of March, 500 sold units, and active listings 283. Again, lack of inventory as we see. And look at the difference between September of last year and what we're seeing now. It's incredible, completely reversed. And looking at last year, but similar trend. Last March, 559 sold units and 321 active listings. All right, so now the ratio of list versus sold, and 110%. So the condo market is even picking up faster, and we were not able to adjust that average sale or list price to what's being sold, and 110% versus 107% of the previous month. So we have a gradual increase, and similar to last year, again similar 110% as well, whereas last year the average price was lower. And look at this, and this is how we know this. Again, new heights for the condominium sector as well. $483,000 is the average, and this is new heights again for the condominium sector, and versus last March at 441,000. Looking at the days on the market, average days that a condo unit sits on the market, we have 11 days. Again, this is significantly lower than what we saw several months ago at 28 days. Not a huge difference, but again, a new low for the condo market. And we saw similar things last year, 14 days for last March. Now the rental market, a bit of a concern for the investors. What's going on. I feel like we're still good, and nothing significant, no impacts. I don't think this regulation will have much of an impact on investors as a whole. So perhaps we'll see impacts in cities such as Toronto or Vancouver if these taxes come into play, or these regulations, just because we have much more activity, foreigners purchasing sight unseen, but I feel like this will have a smaller impact for Ottawa for the investment portion as well. So looking at the month of March, we had 468 rented units and 558 active units, so that's good. We still have inventory, but huge difference between what we saw in November, for example. We have a surge of active rental units, which now that's diminished. The gap between rented and active listings are really closing up, getting narrow to one another. And look at the year before, it was similar: 414 units active, 401 units rented. So similar pattern to previous year. I don't feel that the new regulation will have much of an impact on the investment side of things, mostly personal, and I feel bad for families who are really trying to get homes for themselves, and they're getting caught up in this crossfire pretty much. And look at the rental days on the market. A rental unit sits on the market 28 days. Pretty much everything is normal. We dropped to 21 days for several months, but again, this is normal. I don't see any concern. The average being 28 days, which was similar 30 days year over year. So to give you overall my insight, or how could you strategize as a buyer, really, if you got lucky prior to that March 30th date, you know, you're fortunate. Count your lucky stars. I mean, it's just you know, it just happened, and it's unfortunate for those who couldn't, weren't able to get on board with purchasing a home. I think you know, it's either you come up with that 20%, or just wait and see to see if there is any pressure on the government to from other sources. You know, you can reach out to MPs and so on to see whether they can do anything to perhaps put a step, you know, foot forward to at least make the government propose adjustments to these sort of regulations, to make exemptions for certain individuals. I think it's still a bit vague overall. Same thing with the federal policy with the 2 years. You know, that needs to be justified more, and I hope that there will be adjustments or exemptions added on to these regulations. Overall, for buyers that are Canadian citizens, I think what this will mean is that more and more options. I think even perhaps the overall average price will not get impacted. Rather, you may have more options to pick from. You might not see as much competition, so lesser number of offers. So I guess a better peace of mind pursuing a home. But as far as whether you know, this will have a huge impact, will have a huge cool down, the market will crash, not really. No, I don't see that happening. Again, the new developments or new built homes will have an impact on this. I don't see builders building right now. I think instead of these sort of regulations, what the government should have done would be to set up or ease up on the municipal level on the permission or permits given for zoning. So if they will allow multi-units to be built in areas which are not allowed, that will give, again, that's temporary as well, I may say. That might be a year or so of calmness, because again, the price will start going up. But again, it's a step forward. I think these things should be done this way, and perhaps incentive for builders to build will be one thing, because as far as government spending themselves or providing affordable housing, it's very difficult on a government position or governmental position to come up with setups such as that. I think incentives to builders would have been a much better way to go than what we're seeing now. But again, it's always a step forward. For sellers, I think you will see a gradual calmness, but not so much an alarm as some may speculate. I think we are, you know, homes are still in demand. We see the stats. We're still in shortages, regardless of what the impacts will have. The new regulation we're still in a shortage of homes. But again, if you're in a market to sell, if it's something that you're somewhat cashing out compared to looking at the numbers we've seen, the 30% increase in prices, the crazy $300,000 above asking, perhaps that'll be more calm now. So if you're looking to sell now, perhaps would be the ideal time, but I wouldn't panic as far as a significant change happening. So that's my take on that, guys. Please do remember to like this video and to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Until next time, take care.